um, Peter was saying my biological dad, my biological father, and so on. I happen to be that guy who caused him so much trouble, yeah? Who used to bring so many children to the home that he nemubuze mirembe. But I would like to appreciate our father and our mother, Miss Bishop and Mrs. Imbuga. But we cannot forget our grandfather, Pastor Moses Dombo. The bishop asked me today to share my testimony. And I think maybe I'll just build on to what Peter said. I'll give a little bit of background as to why I inconvenienced them with so many children at home. In 1985, by that time I was working with the Church of Uganda. You know that there had just been a war, and the country was not settled. And there was a rumor in the country that there was a disease which was killing people, but would make them very small before they die. Now, having read a lot of fiction and a lot of things, I had also read of a disease that made people so fat that they bled and died. Now here I was hearing of a disease in Uganda which made people thin until they died. And the original place where that disease was in Rakai, Chotara. That area was under my jurisdiction because at the time I was working with the Church of Uganda, and I was in charge of the Luero Triangle. Now, Luero Triangle covered the whole of Buganda region. I was in charge of the development and the relief activities. So I was asked by my office to go and investigate, see what this disease was. The person who was in charge of the health program in Western Buganda, West Buganda Diocese, was an old man by the names Canon Elsa Sentongo. And when I went, I tried to ask what the problem was. He said, well, we don't understand it. We have our clinics there, but we don't have the medicine that the people want. And he described some of the symptoms. So I asked, could you take me to see? And when we went to Rakai, we met Reverend Mahamba. Reverend Mahamba was the health person in charge of the Archdeaconry of Chotara. And we went into the countryside. Now, you could find very, very big homes, very respectable homes, but we only found children from 9 to very young age. And if you go into a home where there are 4 children and the oldest is 9 years and is looking after the others, you know there's a problem. We visited a number of homes and it was the same status. And it did not leave me the same that we could leave these children in that state, yeah, without help. So those are some of the children who ended up with the Peters. To date, we have had up 76 children through our home. And I'm glad to report that some of them, one now is an ambassador of a nearby country to another country. One is aspiring to become the president of a nearby country again. And so there have been, I think that intervention was good. Peter, I would like to apologize to you and to your brothers. And one time we had the children's court, yeah? Now those things you watch on TV. But Peter and his brothers took us to court, me and their mother. They wanted to know whether they were our children or something, because they did not understand why we were treating them the same way with the rest of the other children. But there was no way we could bring the children into the home and then discriminate them against them that these are our children and these. So, again, apologies. I accepted Christ in April 1968. It was 9th April, to be very specific. And when I accepted Christ, I promised myself that it was going to be a private affair between me and God. Now, the only people who are saved in this country were the Bazukufu. So you may understand my background. And when I accepted as a private affair, the Reverend was quick to correct me, not directly, but through the sharing of the Bible, that if you are ashamed of me, those were from the scriptures, then I will be ashamed of you. I thought, look here, now I have taken a step to identify myself with you. Now you also want me to come out. But I don't regret the fact that I declared that I was saved. That was in 1968, August 14th. Was it a mistake? I don't regret it. Because I have seen what God has been able to do in my life and in the lives of those who accept him as Lord and Savior, and there are things that we cannot apologize about. Salvation at that time was amongst the Bazukufu, and you know that that was within the Church of Uganda. And the only Bazukufu I knew were 3 people. There was a reverend, a very old man, who sometimes forgot what he had said and he repeated himself. Another one was a teacher who wore these dresses which reached at the bottom. And one ran mad. So there were 3. One is mad, one is too old, and then this old. But what is it that drew me to Christ? My father had been killed when I was 9.5 years old. You know the pre-independence movement? My father was a politician, and Obote and the team, His Excellency, the late President of Uganda, used to come to my home because we were the campaign. My parents were the campaign managers of UPC, and because of those associations, politics has always been violent in Uganda. So my dad got killed. I was 9 years and about 8 months. Now my father, being a politician, had 6 of my mothers, 6 mothers. And by the time he was killed, he was 33, and he had 9 of us. Now you know that some of my mothers were about 20. And when he died, they left. But when they left the children behind. You get the point? Now I had 9 of my brothers and sisters, and my mother, who was the oldest, she couldn't leave because she was too old and she couldn't go with the 4 of us. Yeah? So we were 9 children in the home and with my mother. So I was introduced very early to the issue of looking after children. Yeah? Because now I had these 8 brothers of mine with me, 9 and about 10 years old, and I had to look after these guys. And I was wondering, exactly, God, why me? Yeah? Yet God was preparing me for a service with the children. Yeah? Some of them I have already shared. Yeah? And there are things that will happen in your lives which are unpleasant. Some of the things you do not understand. But God is preparing you for your ministry. Now, if you ask me what my ministry is the children. Even when I was coming here, I remember Pastor Sam, who is also my son, told me about Christ's Heart. And I said, okay, it's a good idea. But I kept praying about it, and God told me, go to Christ's Heart. And I asked him, why should I go to Christ's Heart? And he said, because of the children. You know, I'm always scared of the youth, because of the experience of, and I didn't want to come to Christ's Heart because of the many youths. they are a nuisance sometimes. True or false? Yeah? They have too many questions. You ask too many questions, and sometimes you are not satisfied with the answers you are given. You are curious, and so on. But whatever is happening in your lives, God is preparing you for it. Now, let me share some of the things which God has done to me, yeah, as part of his blessing in my life. One of the things which his provisions. I have told you that my father died early. Now, how did I study? One, I became a chief brewer in my home because my mother, that's the only way she could raise money. Yeah? And she also had to look for food for us. So she taught me how to distill waragi. And I know how to make a mandule pure. Yeah? I know. Unfortunately, one time when I was busy at it, my cousin came with a ball. Yeah? And we started playing the ball, forgetting that I was brewing. And the thing blew up. Now, when it blew up, I was in trouble because I knew if my mother came and she found that I hadn't done a good job, I would be in deep trouble. But this cousin of mine was cleverer than me, or more exposed. So he went and collected the seeds of injaga and told me, no, you don't worry. Let us crush the things, mix with the waragi, and when we give the people, they will be happy with it. Yeah? So we mixed this stuff, and when the person came to ask us for the waragi, for testing, you know, you give them kiwanja first. So we would give them the number 1. But when now they paid, we brought number 2. Yeah? The one with the injaga seeds. But when they had the injaga seeds, in 5 minutes, they would be gone. Yeah? So whoever would come next would ask, what did you give that guy? We would say, we shall give you. Do you want it? Give me, and so we bring him the pure one, and then we serve the injaga one. And by the time my mother came, we had sold the whole stuff. And she said, what did you do? We didn't share the tricks of what had happened, because she would have killed me. But apart from brewing waragi, I also kept ducks. So when one minister was talking about go and keep ducks, I know what it means. I had 2 ducks, but they each gave me an egg every day. And at that time, a duck egg cost 1 shilling. 1 cent, actually. It was 1 cent. And 2 cents every day was good income because my fees was 9 shillings. Yeah? So my 2 cents, when I accumulated, they made a lot of money. Yeah? So some of you who think that, oh, you know, life is so hard, God is unfair, we don't have money. No. He's just teaching you something to do. So from you cannot tell me to do some things and I hesitate. Now, it all went well until I reached P7. When I reached P7, I could not, first of all, raise the money, which now had become astronomical, 180 shillings. Yeah? But because I had done well, yeah, in a class, I was offered a scholarship. And I went to Namali High School. Now, in Namali High School, my scholarship covered everything. But the bursar who was there refused to give me the other things. And he said, if you want to get the money, you must work for it. So I was recruited as a cook. Now, it is a boarding school. Eh? And I was a cook in a boarding school. And sometimes I was the chief cleaner for the toilets. Eh? Yeah? And then also I was the tanny boy. So I had to combine all these things to try and raise money. So you guys who think that washing the toilet is a problem, this is waterborne. Eh? But those ones were peat. And you know some students they are so inaccurate that they deposit the luggage on the surface. Yeah? So there is nothing. God prepares you early. That's the point I must emphasize. And got his provisions. When I came to Makerere, that was 1976, I arrived there on sleepers, yeah, and 2 shirts and 1 trouser, yeah. And the first day we registered, our dean told us that you have come to university, this is not a primary school or a senior school, you are going to have a test in the afternoon. So we prepared for the test. When we went to the classroom, to the lecture hall, they gave us the papers for the test, and it was biochemistry. Now, I had not heard of biochemistry. And we sat there, we were about 70 students. We looked at each other, we smiled at each other, and then we burst out laughing. He had gone out. When he heard us laughing, he came back and said, I'll be collecting the papers in 30 minutes. And some of us started volunteering, leaving the room because there was nothing to write. But one guy from Budo actually got 100. And we were wondering, you guy, what happened? Have you been here before? Yeah? The guy said, don't worry about that. Unfortunately, after 1 year, he was terminated because he couldn't make up. I don't know what happened. Now, I had arrived on my sleepers, and during the registration, one person who had beards and so on asked me, hey, where are you going? Are you going to the bathroom or to the... I said, no, sir. I didn't know that he was one of my colleague students. I said, no, sir, I am a student here. You're a student on sleepers? Now, later on, I learned that he was a student also. And he was in the same hall with me. So I followed him to his room. And when I went to his room, I found that he had another pair of shoes under the bed. So I removed my sleepers. His second pair of shoes had socks. So I put on the socks, put on his shoes, and he asked me, what are you doing? I said, look, the reason why I went to the lecture room without shoes is because I didn't have. Since you have 2 pairs, I'm taking this one, and I will bring when I buy one. That guy is now an honorable MP. And I used those shoes for the whole 3 years. Because halfway through, when somebody gave me money to buy shoes, then God told me, give the shoes to the person sitting next to you. I told God, but look, God, this is the only pair I have got. God insisted. So I gave the guy sitting next to me the pair of shoes. He's now a lawyer. Yeah, and he's on this block. Yeah, so God does amazing things. God is protection. In 1999, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I was given 3 months to have expired. But when I was told, I told the doctor that, yeah, doctor, you are saying that, but I will be sending you my Christmas card. He said, you are joking. I said, no, I'm not joking. He said, you are joking. I said, no, I'm not joking. And I had a number of tests around here. Then I was sent to Nairobi. Actually, I was found with advanced cancer. The long and short of it is that I'm alive today. Thanks be to the Lord is, yeah. And I have been helpful to some other people who have cancer, because there are a few things that I can share with them about cancer, which I understand, which somebody else may not understand. Yeah? So if you are one of the candidates, please come. One of my friends on Tuesday in Haiti was undergoing a cancer surgery, and I'm in contact with her. Yes. My work for the past about 30 years has been in the humanitarian field in war areas. And in war areas, sometimes the worst scenario was in South Sudan. The government in the north would send planes to come and bomb. Now, when I arrived in the place where I was going to work, They told me, you know, the plane comes to bomb. And I told them, for as long as I'm here, no plane is going to come to bomb here. And if it does come, it will not bomb. And I was in that place for 5 years, and the plane would come and cycle and go away and never bombed. But it would bomb all the towns around us. So the Lord's protection. Yeah? Yeah? One time, I was riding a bicycle up a convex hill. A convex hill is one which, when you're at the bottom, you don't see what is on top. Yeah? And as I was going, when I saw a lorry, it was literally, yeah? And I was in the middle of the road. But something, God, I think, picked me from the road, put me on the side, and the lorry passed. God is protection. I was in a plane coming from Arua, one of these small planes. And when we were over Lake Albert, because of the thermal disturbances, the engine stopped. We are not flying very high, we are at about 9,000 feet. Now, when an engine stops for such small planes, there is a drift. You don't come down like a stone. You drift, yeah? And we are drifting towards what? For every distance you go vertically, horizontally, you drop a certain number of feet. Now, we dropped until I could see the waves, yeah? And I told God, Lord, you know, I don't like cold water. And I don't think it's a good time for us to, yeah? The engine which had stopped at 9,000 feet, the pilot had done everything. And he was literally red in color because he knew what was following. The engine started. And we proceeded. But none of us talked on that flight until we reached Entebbe. Another time, we were in a plane at about 25,000 feet in the air. Now, it was a cargo plane. And the door of the plane opened. Now, literally, you know that when the doors of a plane open and you are so high, it should crash. Yeah? And the plane tried to do a few gymnastics for crashing. And we told God, now God, surely, this thing you can take charge. And we reached where we were going, but the door was still open. Now, for a cargo plane, when the door is open like that, it cannot land because the door touches down for the things to go in. Now, it was at the maximum opening. So we circled around the airport and they told us, do this. They told the pilot, do this, do that, and the thing failed. So they said, now, what we are going to do, you are going to do crash landing. And we are going to get all the planes, all the firefighters and so on, to be ready. I told God, well, God, this thing, you can be in charge. And you are in charge. That particular plane, its shortest landing distance is about 250 feet. But I was praying to God that it lands within 30 feet. That means it touches down and stops there. That is what happened. So, if you think God cannot protect you, I'm just affirming that God can protect you. Yeah? Then, while on a mission in Darfur, my plane was hijacked. Now, maybe in Uganda, maybe the only one whose plane has been hijacked. And when it was hijacked, it was forced to go to France. But the pilot kept telling the hijackers that there wasn't enough fuel on the plane. And the hijackers didn't want to hear that the plane didn't have enough fuel. The captain asked Cairo if we could land and refuel. They refused. He asked N'Djamena. N'Djamena is the capital city for Chad, and they refused. The plane had been hijacked at about 6:30, and now it was 8:30, and we were running out of fuel. Yeah? In the middle of the desert, the pilot tells us, if any of you, if you can pray, pray, but our fuel has run out. We are at 40,000 feet. And I'm telling God, well, God, I think this is going to be history setting, that we landed from 40,000 feet and we didn't disintegrate. So it so happened that a Libyan Air Force base was within the area. When the pilot asked them if we could land, they refused. They said they hadn't been cleared by Libya. So the pilot told them, anyway, whether you agree or not, I'm coming in to land. When he told them that, they drove their tanks, they drove their lorries, they drove there, and they put them on the runway. But there was a runway, a disused runway, which they had dug up, yeah, for repair. The pilot didn't have a choice but to use this runway. Now, the plane should have disintegrated on touchdown. It landed, ran the whole length of the runway, 4 kilometers, and stopped in the sand. It never disintegrated. Yeah? For me, this is part of God's protection. And here I am today. When I got saved, one of the things I wanted was to be ordained, and be ordained a reverend within the Church of Uganda, because that's what I knew. Yeah? That's where I knew. But no matter how many times or which diocese I wrote to apply to be a pastor, they refused. Yeah? I wrote to 4 different dioceses, plus my own home diocese. They refused. Now, last year, during the November blessing, Bishop tells me, tomorrow can you come in a suit? And I'm wondering, now, I'm the chief, you know I was the chief security officer, yeah? Working in the sun and in the rain. Now the bishop is asking me to come in a suit. Anyway, I went and polished my onule and regular black suit and turned up in it. Then bishop comes to me at 2 and says, by the way, I'm going to ordain you. And I'm saying, ordaining me? He said, yes. You know, there are some things we plan according to our own way. Yeah? Me, I planned to be ordained in an Anglican church. God planned for me to be ordained in Christ's heart. You get the point? So there are some things you should not cry too much about when they don't happen, because God has got a plan for you. What is my call? My call is to serve the children. Yeah? And when I look at most people here, actually in age you are my children. So my call is to serve you people. I don't know how, yeah, or in what way, but God will make that clear. Yeah? So do not, the reason why I'm here is for your service. Whether it is us to sit down and we just share about your current circumstances, or what you would like to do in the future, or what happened to you in the past, I am here for you. Yeah? One of the things that I have done for the children, when we started getting, when the direct corporation opened up, they were bringing milk, powder milk from Netherlands, and they were constituting it. For those who are about my age, you may have seen that, you may know or remember that we used to line to get powder milk, the allocations of milk, yeah? But there was something wrong with that milk, because many of the children who took that milk ended up having diarrhea, and many of them died. The problem was very simple. When the powder milk came, the Dairy Corporation was getting water, yeah, from our supply system and reconstituting the milk with. But you know that at that time, the water intake for Kampala and the sewage pipe for Kampala were about 4 kilometers apart. So there was a lot of contamination from the sewage into the drinking water. And I think children were getting infected. And my boss one time told me, I want you to to do a project in Luero Triangle, because the area I was in charge of was Luero Triangle, and that's where we're having a lot of problems. Which should, 1, create employment for the people, 2, give them food, and 3, create income. Now, I looked at my boss and I thought I knew my enemy, not only by face, but also by name. Because he was asking me to do a task which was, I thought it was impossible. And after praying and fasting and grumbling about it for a week, God told me, why don't you write a project where you give the people cows so that they can keep the cow, it creates employment, it gives them milk, that is food, and when they sell the milk, they have income. You get the point now? Yeah? The Lord is wisdom. That was his idea, not mine. And that project is called Send a Cow. How many people here know of Send a Cow? That is one of my ideas. Now Send a Cow is in 9 different countries within Africa. Yeah? Some of the challenges that you may encounter in your life are challenges which, when you listen to God enough, you have the solution, you carry the solution with you. And God will not give you a task for which He will not provide a way out. When I came back in 2013, my idea was to retire and revive my darker keeping business experience and then grow vegetables. Then the Lord tells me, now begin a university. I tell God, excuse me, what did you say? Begin a university. I tell him, in case you don't know, I'm too old. He asks me, reminding me, how old was Abraham? I say, okay. But Lord, I'm too broke. A university is not a nursery school, and I don't have the money. God said, who owns the resources? I said, but God, I have just come from outside. I haven't been in this country for over 20 years. How do you expect me to go? He said, I will provide you with the people. And you people, you are here. Yeah? I would like to appreciate you for your support. For those of you who have given me ideas, those ideas are very welcome. And there are some people I would like to embarrass if they don't mind. I would like to thank Pastor Edgar, my branding consultant. He is the person who is dealing with all the brands, the branding, and by the way, he has done all these things without receiving 1 shilling. So if you think that the guy has been earning no, because I don't have the money. My chairman for the Universal Council is no other but Bishop Mbuga. And my IT consultants are True IT. Have you ever heard of them, True IT? Ah, those are the guys. But there is one person here I would like to thank, because many people find it difficult to work without payment. How many people have a problem with that? To work without payment. You're all happy to work without payment. Yes, I have somebody who helps me to get organized. Fiona. Where is Fiona? Fiona is there. Fiona, stand up. And I was asking God, I don't need a university. I don't have to go to university. Because I did agriculture, for a first degree. I did human resource for a first degree. I did environmental engineering, for environmental protection for second degree. I did civil engineering for a second degree. I did a PhD for a third degree. Why do I need a university for? And God told me, for the children. Yeah? So please, those of you who are looking for places where to take your children, we are hoping that this university is going to begin in August this year. In case you know people, please do recommend them. By the way, we are going to be the cheapest. Yeah? We are cheaper than Makerere, can you imagine? And Makerere is the cheapest in the country, isn't it? And we are trying to be in line with the East African Universities Council, which says that all East Africans and South Sudan pay the same fees. So please, you are welcome. You are welcome. Before I leave here, I would like to appreciate all of you for being here to listen to my boring testimony. And I would like to appreciate the fellow servants, my fellow servants who minister, the pastors, the ushers, the choir, the deacons. We want to appreciate you. Because if it wasn't for you, this place wouldn't be looking so nice. But for you who come to listen to us every day, you are our source of encouragement. Yeah? Thank you for doing that. And may God bless and protect you.